Choose me or the baby, Sophia. You can't have both. The words sliced through the sterile hospital air like a scalpel through flesh, spoken by the man she'd loved for 5 years as their child fought to enter the world. Sofia Rivera's grip tightened on the bed rails, her knuckles white against the metal, as another contraction tore through her body, but nothing compared to the pain of what her husband had just said. What would you do if the person you trusted most betrayed you at your most vulnerable moment? Share your thoughts below. 3 hours earlier, Sophia had been arranging white orchids in the marble foyer of their penthouse, her swollen belly making the simple task feel monumental. The flowers, flown in fresh from Thailand every Tuesday, cost more than most people's monthly rent, but Marcus insisted on perfection. Everything in their world had to be perfect. Careful with those stems, Marcus's voice carried from his home office, where he was conducting another merger call. Even from 30 feet away, his tone made her shoulders tense. The cleaning lady broke one last week. I had to fire her. Sophia had liked Maria. The woman had kind eyes and always asked about the baby. But Marcus didn't tolerate mistakes, not even small ones. It was part of what had made him successful. His empire of tech companies and real estate holdings demanded ruthless precision. She told herself it was just business, not personal. The contraction hit her as she reached for the crystal vase, sharp and sudden. Her breath caught, and she gripped the edge of the console table until her knuckles went white. The pain radiated from her lower back, wrapping around her belly like a vice. Marcus, she called softly, but his voice boomed over hers as he berated someone about quarterly projections. She counted slowly, 30 seconds. Then it faded. False alarm, maybe. Dr. Hamilton had said first babies often came late. She was only 38 weeks. Sophia lowered herself carefully onto the leather sofa that cost more than a car, studying their reflection in the floor-to-ceiling windows. The city sparkled below them like scattered diamonds. Marcus's kingdom spread out in every direction. She'd grown up in a cramped apartment where the neighbors' arguments bled through paper-thin walls. This silence, this space, this luxury, it had felt like a fairy tale when they'd first married. But fairy tales didn't usually feature husbands who counted the minutes you spent on phone calls or questioned every purchase over $50. Fairy tales didn't include prenups that left you with nothing if you ever tried to leave. Another contraction gripped her, stronger this time. She pressed her palm against her belly, feeling their daughter shift and turn. They'd already picked out the name, Aria, because Marcus said it sounded sophisticated. Sophia had wanted something simpler, warmer, but she'd learned to choose her battles carefully. The nursery looks beautiful, she told him yesterday, admiring the professionally designed space with its imported Italian crib and hand-painted murals. Everything white and gold and pristine. It should, considering what it cost, he'd replied without looking up from his tablet. Though I still think we're rushing into this whole parent thing. Maybe we should have waited a few more years. She'd felt something cold settle in her chest at those words. They'd been trying for this baby for 2 years. The fertility treatments, the disappointments, the hope, had that all been just her? Had he been going through the motions, giving her what she thought she wanted while secretly wishing it would never happen? Welcome back, my incredible viewers. Your comments from the last video have been absolutely overwhelming. I can see how deeply you're all connecting with the story, and the theories you've been sharing are absolutely brilliant. Some of you are surprisingly close to the truth of what's coming next. But before we continue, don't forget to smash that like button if you're enjoying what you're seeing. Your support means the world to me and helps this channel grow. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss any of our uploads. We're building an amazing community here, and I don't want you to miss out on what's coming. And please, share this video with your friends, family, or anyone who would love this type of content. The more people we can bring into this community, the better it gets for everyone. Your engagement in the comments has been incredible, and I love reading every single one of your thoughts and theories. Keep them coming. Now, let's go in-depth into the story. Now, as another wave of pain crashed over her, Sophia wondered if this was what her mother had meant in that awkward conversation 3 months ago. Honey, her mother had said carefully, you know I love Marcus, but, are you happy? Really happy? The question had startled her. Of course she was happy. She had everything, a gorgeous home, financial security, a husband who was respected and powerful. What more could she want? But lying on the sofa now, timing contractions while her husband shouted about profit margins in the next room, she realized she couldn't remember the last time Marcus had asked how she was feeling. Really feeling. Not just, "Are you comfortable?" or "Do you need anything?" but the kind of question that meant he wanted to know her heart, not just manage her needs. When had he stopped seeing her as a person and started treating her like another acquisition to be maintained? The thought was disloyal, she told herself. Marcus provided for her, protected her, gave her a life most women would envy. He was under enormous pressure with the company expansion. Once the baby came, once things settled down, they'd find their way back to each other. Another contraction, this one making her gasp aloud. "Marcus," she called, louder this time. "Not now, Sophia. This call is important." More important than their baby trying to be born? The thought came unbidden, sharp and bitter. She pushed it away, focusing on breathing through the pain. Dr. Hamilton had said labor could take hours, especially for first babies. There was time. But as she watched her husband through the office doorway, his back straight, his voice commanding, his attention completely absorbed by everything except her, Sophia felt a chill that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. In a few hours, their daughter would be here. Their family would be complete. So why did she suddenly feel so alone? The next contraction doubled her over, and this time, she couldn't stay quiet. Her cry of pain finally broke through Marcus's concentration, and he turned to look at her with the expression he usually reserved for minor inconveniences. "Is it time?" he asked, already calculating, already planning. As if this were just another item on his schedule to be efficiently managed. Sophia nodded, unable to speak through the intensity of it. But somewhere in the pain, a small voice whispered a warning she wasn't ready to hear. "This is only the beginning." The private hospital suite looked more like a five-star hotel room than a delivery ward. Marcus had insisted on the premium package, Italian marble floors, a sitting area with leather chairs, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. He'd arranged everything with the same meticulous attention to detail he applied to his business deals, right down to the specific brand of sparkling water stocked in the mini fridge. But none of that luxury mattered now as Sophia gripped the bed rails, her body racked with contractions that came every 3 minutes like clockwork. "Just breathe through it, Mrs. Blackwood," Dr. Hamilton coached, her voice calm and professional. The older woman had delivered hundreds of babies, including several from Marcus's social circle. "You're doing beautifully." 8 centimeters dilated. Sophia wanted to laugh at the word beautifully. Nothing about this felt beautiful. Her hair was plastered to her forehead with sweat, her designer hospital gown was twisted and damp, and she felt like her body was being torn apart from the inside. But she nodded, trying to focus on the breathing techniques they'd learned in the childbirth classes Marcus had attended with visible reluctance. "How much longer?" Marcus asked from his position near the window, where he'd been pacing and checking his phone for the past hour. He looked immaculate even here, his Armani suit unwrinkled, his dark hair perfectly styled, his Rolex catching the afternoon light. "I have a conference call with Tokyo in 2 hours. Dr. Hamilton's expression tightened almost imperceptibly. "Babies come on their own timeline, Mr. Blackwood. Not ours." Another contraction hit, and Sophia cried out despite herself. The pain was beyond anything she'd imagined, waves of agony that stole her breath and made her vision blur at the edges. Through it all, she could hear Marcus's phone buzzing with notifications, the sound somehow more intrusive than the medical equipment beeping around them. "Marcus," she gasped when the contraction passed. Can you hold my hand?" He glanced up from his phone, seeming almost surprised by the request. Of course. But his grip was perfunctory, distracted, and he kept checking his screen over her shoulder. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to put that away," said Janet, one of the nurses. She was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in a neat bun. "Your wife needs your full attention right now." Marcus's jaw tightened. He wasn't used to being told what to do, especially not by hospital staff. "This is a very important deal. Multi-million-dollar." "I don't care if it's a billion-dollar deal," Janet interrupted, her voice still polite but firm. "Right now, nothing is more important than what's happening in this room." Sophia felt a rush of gratitude toward the nurse, even as another contraction began building. But she also saw the flash of anger in Marcus's eyes, the look he got when someone challenged his authority. She'd seen that look directed at employees, at service workers, at anyone who dared to suggest his priorities might be wrong. She'd just never seen it directed at her. You need to push now, Sophia, Dr. Hamilton announced, checking the monitors. Baby's ready to meet the world. The next few minutes blurred together in a haze of pain and effort and coaching voices. Sophia pushed with everything she had, feeling like she was splitting apart, dimly aware of Marcus standing stiffly in the corner, his discomfort with the whole process written across his face. I can see the head. Dr. Hamilton called out. One more big push. And that's when everything changed. Stop, Marcus said suddenly, his voice cutting through the medical team's encouragements. Everyone stop. Dr. Hamilton looked up sharply. Mr. Blackwood, this isn't the time. I said stop. His tone was commanding, the voice that had closed billion-dollar deals and intimidated corporate rivals. But here in this moment, it sounded something else entirely. It sounded cruel. Sophia stared at him through her exhaustion and pain, not understanding. Marcus? What? He stepped closer to the bed, his eyes cold and calculating. I've been thinking about this for months, Sophia. About what this baby means. What it changes. The room had gone deadly quiet except for the steady beeping of the heart rate monitors. Dr. Hamilton and the nurses exchanged glances, their professional composure barely masking their shock. You need to choose, Marcus continued, his voice steady and businesslike, as if he were discussing a contract negotiation. Me and our life together, our real life, our freedom, our plans, or this baby. But you can't have both. The words hung in the air like poison gas. Sophia felt her world tilt sideways, reality becoming something she no longer recognized. What are you talking about? She whispered, her voice hoarse from pushing. This is our baby. Our daughter. No, Marcus said firmly. This is a complication. A distraction. I've built an empire, Sophia. We have everything we could ever want. Why would we throw that away for sleepless nights and dirty diapers and all the chaos that comes with a child? Dr. Hamilton stepped forward, her voice tight with controlled anger. Mr. Blackwood, your wife is in active labor. This conversation needs to wait. It can't wait, he snapped. Choose now, Sophia. Me or the baby. Choose. The monitor showed their daughter's heartbeat, strong and steady, fighting to be born. Sophia looked at the man she'd married, the man she'd loved, the man who was asking her to choose between him and the life they'd created together. And in that moment, staring into his cold, impatient eyes, she realized she was looking at a stranger. What do you think Sophia should do in this impossible moment? Can a marriage survive such a betrayal? Share your thoughts below. The silence in the delivery room was deafening, broken only by the rhythmic beeping of monitors and Sophia's labored breathing. Dr. Hamilton's face had gone pale, her professional mask slipping to reveal raw shock. Nurse Janet's hands trembled slightly as she adjusted the four-line, her eyes darting between Sophia and Marcus with barely concealed disgust. You can't be serious, Sophia whispered, her voice barely audible. Another contraction was building, but the physical pain felt distant now, overshadowed by the emotional devastation crushing her chest. This is our baby, Marcus. Our daughter. Marcus straightened his tie, a gesture so familiar it made her stomach turn. He did that when he was about to deliver bad news to his board of directors, when he was about to fire someone, when he was about to destroy something that no longer served his purposes. I'm completely serious, he said, his tone as measured as if he were discussing stock options. I've run the numbers, Sophia. The cost of raising a child, not just financial, but the opportunity cost. The time, the energy, the freedom we'd lose. It doesn't make sense. Run the numbers. Dr. Hamilton's voice cracked with incredulity. Mr. Blackwood, we're talking about a human life. Your child. I'm talking about our future, Marcus shot back, his control finally showing cracks. Do you have any idea what I've sacrificed to build what we have? The deals I've closed, the risks I've taken? And now she wants to throw it all away for what? Midnight feedings and soccer practices. Sophia felt another contraction building, but she couldn't focus on it. Her mind was reeling, trying to process the man standing before her. When had he become this person? Or had he always been this way, and she'd just been too blinded by the wealth and security to see it? I never threw anything away, she managed between shallow breaths. We talked about having children. We tried for years. You tried, Marcus interrupted coldly. I went along with it because it seemed to matter to you. But I never wanted this, Sophia. I thought you'd understand that by now. The heart monitor attached to Sophia's belly showed their daughter's pulse, strong, steady, completely unaware that her father was discussing her like a failed business venture. The sound seemed to mock Marcus's words, a tiny heartbeat that proved this wasn't just numbers on a spreadsheet but a living, breathing miracle. Nurse Janet couldn't stay silent anymore. Sir, with all due respect, you need to leave this room. Now. I'm not going anywhere, Marcus snapped, his CEO persona fully engaged. This is my wife, and this decision affects my life too. Your life. Dr. Hamilton's voice rose, despite her professional training. Your wife is about to deliver your child, and you're treating this like a hostile takeover. Maybe because that's what it feels like, Marcus said, his mask slipping further. She's taking over our life, our plans, our future, for something I never agreed to. The words hit Sophia like physical blows. Each syllable revealed the depth of his resentment, his selfishness, his complete inability to see beyond his own desires. The man she'd fallen in love with, or thought she'd fallen in love with, had never really existed. This was who Marcus truly was, someone who could stand in a delivery room and demand she choose between him and their unborn child. I need to push, Sophia gasped, the contraction overwhelming her ability to think about anything else. Not until you choose, Marcus said firmly. I need to know where we stand. Mr. Blackwood, Dr. Hamilton's voice was dangerous now. If you don't step aside and let me do my job, I will have security remove you from this room. You wouldn't dare. Try me. The standoff lasted only seconds, but it felt like hours. Sophia watched her husband calculate the odds, weigh the consequences of pushing too far. She could almost see him running the cost-benefit analysis in his head. Was maintaining control worth the public embarrassment of being forcibly removed from his child's birth? Another contraction hit, stronger than before, and Sophia cried out. The sound seemed to snap something in the room's tension. The baby is crowning, Dr. Hamilton announced, her attention shifting back to what mattered. Sophia, you need to push now, whether your husband likes it or not. No, Marcus stepped closer to the bed, his voice sharp with command. Sophia, look at me. Look at what you're giving up. Through her pain and exhaustion, Sophia forced herself to meet his eyes. What am I giving up, Marcus? Everything, he said, spreading his arms wide. The penthouse. The cars. The vacations to places most people only dream of. The life of luxury I've built for us. The freedom to do whatever we want, whenever we want. All of it disappears the moment that baby is born. And what do I get instead? Sophia asked, surprising herself with the steadiness of her voice. Marcus looked genuinely puzzled by the question. What do you mean? If I choose the baby, what do I get? Sleepless nights, he said without hesitation. Dirty diapers. A screaming infant who doesn't care about your needs. Years of your life devoted to someone who will eventually grow up and leave anyway. It's not a fair trade, Sophia. The monitor showed their daughter's heartbeat accelerating slightly, as if she could sense the tension in the room. Sophia placed her hand on her belly, feeling the strong movements beneath her skin. What if she's amazing? Sophia whispered. What if she's funny and smart and kind? What if she looks at me like I'm her whole world? What if loving her is the most important thing I'll ever do? Marcus's face hardened. What if she's not? What if she's difficult and demanding and ruins everything we've worked for? The question revealed everything Sophia needed to know about the man she'd married. He saw their daughter not as a person to love, but as a risk to be managed. Not as a miracle, but as a threat to his comfort. Another contraction, and this time Sophia pushed with everything she had, not because the doctor told her to, but because she finally understood what she was fighting for. I can see her head. Dr. Hamilton called out. She's almost here. Choose now, Sophia, Marcus demanded, his voice rising. Me or the baby? What's it going to be? Through her pain and tears and the overwhelming effort of bringing life into the world, Sophia looked at her husband one last time. Then she turned away from him and pushed with every ounce of strength she had left. The choice, she realized, had already been made. Do you think Sophia is making the right choice? How would you handle discovering your partner's true nature at such a vulnerable moment? Let us know in the comments. The baby's cry filled the delivery room like a symphony, raw, powerful, and utterly perfect. Dr. Hamilton lifted the tiny pink form into the light, and for a moment, the entire world seemed to stop. "It's a girl," the doctor announced, her voice thick with emotion despite having delivered hundreds of babies. "A beautiful, healthy girl." Sophia's sob of relief and joy echoed through the room as they placed her daughter on her chest. The baby was perfect, 10 tiny fingers, 10 tiny toes, a shock of dark hair, and eyes that seemed to look directly into her soul. In that instant, holding her daughter for the first time, Sophia felt a love so fierce and immediate it took her breath away. "Hello, my sweet girl," she whispered, her tears falling onto the baby's soft skin. "I'm your mama. I've been waiting so long to meet you." The baby's cries softened at the sound of her voice, tiny fingers grasping instinctively at Sophia's hospital gown. It was the most natural thing in the world, this connection between mother and child, this bond that had been forming for 9 months and was now fully realized. From across the room, Marcus watched in stony silence. "She's beautiful, isn't she?" Nurse Janet said softly, helping to clean the baby while keeping her close to Sophia's chest. "Look at that grip, she's a fighter." Dr. Hamilton worked efficiently, but Sophia could see the anger still simmering in the older woman's eyes. The physician had witnessed many difficult births, but probably nothing quite like this. A father who viewed his newborn daughter as an inconvenience to be eliminated. "Well." Marcus's voice cut through the tender moment like a blade. "Have you made your decision?" Sophia looked up from her daughter's face, and for the first time since the contractions had started, she felt completely clear. The exhaustion was still there, the physical pain, the overwhelming flood of postpartum hormones. But beneath it all was a certainty she'd never experienced before. "Yes," she said simply. "I have." Marcus stepped closer, his expression expectant. He actually looked relieved, as if he believed she was going to choose their old life, their comfortable routine, their perfect penthouse existence. "I choose her," Sophia said, her voice growing stronger with each word. "I choose our daughter. I choose love." The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus's face went through a series of expressions: confusion, disbelief, and then something that looked almost like panic. "You can't be serious," he said, his voice losing its commanding tone for the first time all day. "Sophia, think about what you're doing. Think about what you're giving up." "I know exactly what I'm giving up," she replied, stroking her daughter's soft cheek. "I'm giving up a life with a man who could stand in this room and ask me to choose between him and our child. I'm giving up a marriage to someone who sees our daughter as a business liability instead of a miracle." "That's not, I didn't," Marcus stumbled over his words, apparently not having prepared for this outcome. "I built everything for us, Sophia. The money, the house, the lifestyle." "You built it for yourself," she interrupted, her voice calm but firm. "And I let myself believe I was part of it because I was afraid of being alone. But holding her now, I realize I've been alone for a long time." Dr. Hamilton cleared her throat softly. "Perhaps we should give you some privacy." "No," Sophia said quickly. "Please stay. I think I'm going to need witnesses." Marcus's expression darkened. "Witnesses for what?" For this conversation, Sophia shifted carefully, supporting her daughter against her chest. "The prenup you made me sign, it says I get nothing if I leave you, right?" "That's correct," Marcus said, his business instincts kicking in despite the circumstances. "You signed it willingly." "I did. Because I loved you, and I trusted you, and I believed we were partners." She looked down at her daughter, who had fallen asleep against her chest, tiny lips pursed in peaceful contentment. "But you just proved we were never partners. You own things, Marcus. You don't love them." "That's ridiculous." "Is it?" Sophia's voice was getting stronger, more confident. "Partners don't give ultimatums. Partners don't ask each other to choose between family and marriage. Partners support each other through the biggest moments of their lives, not threaten to leave during labor." Nurse Janet made a small sound of agreement, quickly covering it with a cough. "So here's what's going to happen," Sophia continued. "You can go back to your penthouse and your deals and your perfectly controlled life. You can have all of it." Marcus looked confused. And we'll be just fine without it. Without you." "You can't survive without me," Marcus said, but there was uncertainty in his voice now. "You have no money, no job, no place to live." I have her, Sophia said simply, looking down at her daughter. And apparently, that's enough. For the first time in their entire relationship, Marcus looked genuinely afraid. Not angry, not controlling, but afraid. As if he was finally realizing what he was losing and what it might cost him. Sophia, let's talk about this rationally. No, she said, her voice gentle but immovable. The time for talking was before you asked me to choose. Now I have chosen, and you have to live with the consequences. The baby stirred slightly in her arms, making soft newborn sounds that were the sweetest music Sophia had ever heard. What's her name? Dr. Hamilton asked quietly. Sophia looked down at her daughter's peaceful face, then back up at Marcus. Hope, she said. Her name is Hope. Marcus turned and walked out of the room without another word, his footsteps echoing down the hospital corridor until they faded to nothing. In the sudden quiet, Hope opened her eyes and looked up at her mother, and Sophia smiled through her tears. It's just you and me now, sweetheart, she whispered. And that's going to be enough. 6 months later, Sophia stood in the small kitchen of her modest apartment, warming a bottle while Hope gurgled happily in her bouncer nearby. The morning sun streamed through windows that faced an alley instead of a city skyline, illuminating a space that could fit entirely within the foyer of her former penthouse. But as she listened to her daughter's contented babbling, Sophia had never felt richer. Good morning, beautiful girl, she cooed, lifting Hope from the bouncer. The baby's face lit up with a toothless grin that never failed to melt Sophia's heart. At 6 months old, Hope had Marcus's dark hair but Sophia's warm brown eyes, and a personality that was entirely her own, curious, determined, and surprisingly social for someone so young. The apartment was small but filled with things that mattered. Photos of Hope's first smile, her first laugh, her first time sitting up on her own. The walls were painted a cheerful yellow instead of the sterile white of the penthouse, and children's books were scattered across surfaces that once held priceless art. A soft knock at the door interrupted the morning routine. Sophia peered through the peephole and smiled, opening the door to reveal Janet, the nurse from the delivery room, holding a bag of groceries and wearing a broad grin. I hope you don't mind the surprise visit, Janet said, stepping inside. I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd check on my favorite patient. Over the past 6 months, Janet had become more than just a former caregiver. She'd become a friend, a surrogate grandmother to Hope, and one of the few people who truly understood what Sophia had been through. The older woman had been there the day Marcus's lawyers had arrived with the divorce papers, confirming that Sophia would receive nothing from their marriage except her personal belongings. How are you holding up? Janet asked, immediately reaching for Hope, who squealed with delight at seeing her favorite visitor. Better than I expected, Sophia said honestly, settling onto the second-hand couch she'd bought from a consignment shop. The job at the clinic is going well. Dr. Martinez says I have a natural talent for working with new mothers. It had taken some time to find her footing. With no work experience beyond managing Marcus's social calendar and no college degree, something Marcus had convinced her she didn't need, Sophia had struggled initially. But Dr. Hamilton had connected her with a community health clinic that needed patient advocates, and Sophia had discovered she had a gift for supporting women through difficult pregnancies and traumatic births. And this little angel is thriving, Janet observed, bouncing Hope gently. Look at those cheeks. Someone's been eating well. Sophia's phone buzzed with a text message, and her expression grew cautious. Over the months, Marcus had made several attempts to reconcile, not out of love, she'd realized, but because losing control of something didn't sit well with his nature. His messages had grown increasingly desperate as his divorce from her became public knowledge, apparently damaging his carefully crafted image as a family man. But this message wasn't from Marcus. It's from my lawyer, Sophia said, reading with growing excitement. The reporter from the Tribune wants to do a follow-up story. 3 months earlier, a journalist had gotten wind of Marcus's behavior in the delivery room. Apparently, one of the hospital staff had been so appalled they'd leaked the story. The article, titled "A Millionaire Who Asked His Wife to Choose Between Him and Their Baby," had gone viral, sparking conversations about toxic masculinity, women's rights, and the true meaning of family. Marcus had tried to control the narrative, claiming the story was fabricated, but too many witnesses had come forward. His business partners had distanced themselves, several lucrative deals had fallen through, and his reputation had taken a devastating hit. What kind of follow-up? Janet asked, still entertaining Hope with silly faces. They want to feature stories of mothers who've chosen love over luxury, Sophia explained, her voice growing stronger. Apparently, I've become something of a symbol. The idea both thrilled and terrified her. She'd never sought the spotlight, had always been content to live in Marcus's shadow. But the messages she'd received from other women, mothers facing impossible choices, wives trapped in controlling marriages, daughters learning to value their own worth, had shown her that her story mattered beyond her own life. Another knock at the door, this one more urgent. Sophia's stomach clenched, wondering if Marcus had decided to make another surprise visit. But when she opened the door, she found a delivery person with an enormous arrangement of flowers. "For Sophia Rivera and baby Hope," the young man said, consulting his clipboard. The card was simple: "Congratulations on your new job. You're braver than you know. Dr. Hamilton." Sophia had just accepted a position as the clinic's new program coordinator, developing support systems for at-risk mothers. It was a role that would use everything she'd learned from her own experience, while providing a stable income and health insurance for her and Hope. As she arranged the flowers in a simple vase, Sophia caught her reflection in the window. The woman looking back at her was different from the one who'd lived in the penthouse. This woman had calloused hands from late-night feedings and early morning shifts. She had worry lines from budgeting grocery money and celebration lines from Hope's milestones. She looked tired but alive in a way the penthouse version of herself had never been. "You know what I realized today?" Sophia said to Janet, who was now reading a picture book to Hope in an animated voice. "What's that, honey?" "Marcus asked me to choose between him and the baby because he thought I'd choose him. He thought his money and lifestyle were more valuable than our daughter." "And were they?" Janet asked, though she already knew the answer. Sophia looked at Hope, who was reaching for the colorful pictures in the book, her eyes bright with curiosity and wonder. Every day brought new discoveries: the fascination with her own hands, the joy of peekaboo, the comfort of her mother's voice. This tiny person had already given Sophia more purpose and fulfillment than years of luxury ever had. "Not even close," Sophia said, sitting down beside them. "He thought he was giving me an impossible choice, but it was actually the easiest decision I've ever made." Hope looked up at her mother and smiled, reaching out with chubby fingers to touch Sophia's face. In that simple gesture was everything that mattered: love without conditions, trust without contracts, a future built on what truly counted. Outside, the city hummed with activity, full of people pursuing their own versions of success and happiness. Somewhere in a penthouse across town, Marcus was probably closing another deal, acquiring another possession, building another wall between himself and genuine human connection. But here, in this small apartment filled with laughter and books and the sweet chaos of new motherhood, Sophia had found something worth more than all his millions: a love that asked for nothing but gave everything in return. "What do you think, Hope?" Sophia whispered, kissing her daughter's forehead. "Ready to change the world?" Hope babbled in response, and Sophia chose to take that as a yes. What would you choose, a life of luxury without love, or love without luxury? Share your thoughts below and let us know what matters most to you in life. Your story might inspire someone else facing an impossible choice. Thanks for watching till the end. We know you loved this story, and there are many more thrilling ones waiting for you. Just click on the video on your screen to dive into the next chapter.